The Dodgers and Giants have authored one of the most storied rivalries in sports. From Ebbets Field and the Polo Grounds to the diamonds of Dodger Stadium and McCovey Cove, these two have given us baseball drama at its best.
High fly ball to deep right field. Wherever it goes, the Dodgers have won, and it's a grand slam home run.
With 3 games left, the Dodgers come to the Bay in search of another trip to the postseason. But in a script all too familiar, the road must go through San Francisco, where the Giants would like nothing more than putting the Dodgers' plans in peril.
Puig and Hundley coming together. Hundley shoves it. Puig returns the ball, and the bench is clear.
Tonight, one of the greatest rivalries in sports is renewed. And for one side, a season hangs in the balance. Fasten those seatbelts. It's the Dodgers and the Giants right now. So here we go, the rivalry renewed and the stakes high. The Dodgers and Giants ready to play game 1 of this regular season concluding 3-game series. The Rockies are at it again. They've hit 4 home runs and lead the Nationals 5-2 in the bottom of the 6th inning in that game. And the Dodgers a game back in the National League West standings. Let's go down to the field now, brought to you by El Pollo Loco. Here's Alana.
Joe, the Dodgers can't do much about what the Rockies are doing in Denver, but they would certainly love to be able to take care of business here against the Giants at AT&T Park. These teams, of course, don't like each other very much on the field, a rivalry that goes back decades. And, of course, we know what it's been as of late. Yasiel Puig, Madison Bumgarner getting into it on several occasions. Yasiel Puig not in the Dodgers starting lineup today. A .217 average against Matt Bum with only 2 home runs and 10 punch-outs. It doesn't mean that this rivalry will not be intense. It doesn't mean the series will not be intense. Of course, the Dodgers would like nothing more than be able to lock up their 6th straight NL West title here at AT&T Park, and the Giants would like nothing more to make sure the Dodgers don't get it.
No question about it, Alana, in a series that dates back to the 1800s. The Dodgers and Giants ready to play 3 this weekend, and you know it's something that it's easy from a media perspective to turn into a narrative that the Giants are going to get up for this series, but it's real in this case.
It is definitely real. The fans will be chanting, beat LA. The Dodgers will feel the intensity, and it's something that they need coming off a couple of losses in Arizona in an atmosphere that was kind of flat, but there will be none of that here.
Franchises first met in 1884 in an exhibition game, but really the rivalry goes back to when baseball was invented. In 1845, there was a team in New York, and the first game that the team in New York played was against a group of guys from Brooklyn. That was about all there was for the first few years that baseball was around until the game started to blow up in Brooklyn. The Dodgers came to be and became official rivals when the Dodgers joined the National League in 1890, and ready to write another chapter to their long, storied rivalry tonight. Madison Bumgarner to the hill, and these Dodgers coming to the plate with Kike Hernandez set to lead things off for Dave Roberts. And then it'll be Justin Turner and David Freese, who's been so good since coming over from Pittsburgh. Manny Machado out of the cleanup spot with Kemp in left, Chris Taylor in center, Grandal doing the catching, and Brian Dozier at second hitting 8th. So that is 9 right-handed hitters that'll come up against a guy who has been really good in this ballpark this season and moved back from his scheduled start on Wednesday to face his rival.
6 days off, so he is well rested. See early on if he is sharp, and you're going to see with that rest not a better fastball. You're going to see a lot of breaking stuff, including the cutter, because it is a pitch that really is off speed with his curveball and his changeup. So about 65% of the stuff you're going to see as a Dodger right-hander is going to be soft. That means they're probably going to be pulling the ball, but you want to pull it in the air. You don't want to roll over and hit to that good left side of the Giant defense.
Yeah, he may call it a cutter, but as you touched on, really more of a slider that he will use against this Dodger lineup. And the first man that he'll face has gotten the better of him throughout his career. Kike Hernandez not just gotten the better of him, but these are the best numbers of any hitter against Madison Bumgarner.
It really is strange because Kike has really come into his own this year as a hitter and a professional at bats. But for some reason, over the course of his career, even when he has struggled, Bumgarner is one of the ones that can pull him out of a slump.
Speaking of slump, that's what the Giants are in as a team right now. They're major league worst, 5-18 here in September. With an injury-depleted lineup, they've traded a couple of pieces from the group. Unrecognizable group of Giants from opening day when the Dodgers welcomed them into Dodger Stadium. Overall on the season, Bruce Bochy's team 9-7 against the Dodgers. And now into a ballpark where they played a bunch over the first month, with the first trip here since April for the Dodgers. Dodgers 3-3 since taking that 2.5 game lead, season high mark last Friday. Magic number for a postseason berth is 2. To force game 163, the magic number's 4. We're all set. And off we go with a base hit to right field. Hernandez attacks the first pitch of the night and a single to right field.
Fastball high and away. That's the pitch that usually sets up the curveball and the cutter, but Kike does not let him get anything set up. He just hops on the first one and a line drive to right. What a great approach.
So the leadoff man on, and here's Justin Turner. 3 times he's taken Bumgarner deep over the course of their mini meetings. This Dodger offense #1 in the National League, close to 5 runs per game. #1 in the league in homers. But as you touched on in the pregame show, this is not an easy place to have that be a successful equation. An 0-1 pitch. Turner takes strike 2.
Bumgarner is getting a lot of ground balls this year, more than quite a few years for him. But this ballpark holds his fastball, his fly ball mistakes, where on the road he has not pitched as well. Here at home, he has been almost untouchable.
His 0-2 is up and in for ball 1. Yeah, he's got a 134 earned run average in this ballpark and has fired 20 consecutive scoreless innings here.
It's over a span of his last 3 starts here at home, so very comfortable here on ample rest.
29-year-old out of Hickory, North Carolina, delivers a 1-2, and Turner muscles one to right. Hunter Pence makes a sliding catch for the first out of the night. Up comes David Freese, and he's the subject of our Landover Performance Spotlight. Great numbers since coming over from Pittsburgh, almost exclusively against left-handed pitching, which the Dodgers face tonight.
It's hard to believe that he hasn't been up to the plate in almost a week, but boy, he puts on an at-bat on anybody, left-hander or right-hander.
And you see his numbers against Bumgarner lifetime very good as well. Strike 1. Bumgarner had a really good stretch through the middle part of the summer. Remember, he missed the first 2 months of the season with a broken hand. He suffered in final days of spring training. He got off to a great start once he was activated. He's ahead of Freese, 0-2. He's come back down to earth here in September with an ERA above 5.
That September ERA was built on the road.
Tries to lay off and does. And most recently for Bumgarner at St. Louis last Friday, 3 runs over 6 innings and a no decision. Guess that's his most recent pitching appearance, but won a game for the Giants as a pinch hitter earlier this week here.
Hard to get to a pitcher with September call-ups, but he's a pretty good hitter, and it was a 12th inning.
Hit to short, off Crawford. His flip to second is late, and they're all safe.
Giants, I'm sure, will want to take a look at this. Bumgarner will hang before he gets back on the rubber and faces Manny Machado. It is a rarity to see Crawford boot a ball. Looks like he's going to be safe, even without the replay. One more look here. Yeah, actually, it looks like he's popping up.
And so they do say play on. It's officially an E6. And the Dodgers are at first and second with one out for Manny Machado. Riding a 6-game hitting streak into this series. A cue shot along first. And Aramis Garcia will step on the bag. 2 gone. Closed captioning tonight brought to you by Wiener Schnitzel. First inning opportunity against Bumgarner, and with 2 gone, it belongs to Matt Kemp. The last 2 games in Arizona, Oral, the Dodgers didn't have any issues putting runners on. The issues came, like they have for much of this season, once they had the table set. Dodgers went 4 for 20 men in scoring position the last 2 games and left 17 men on base. Kemp trying to change that tune. He takes ball 1.
When you play in big games against good competition in a big ballpark, small ball, conventional fundamental baseball is what you really have to default to. This is not going to be won with 3 and 4 home run games.
A roller foul, and it's 1-1. It never flies well here, especially when the temperatures dip down into the 50s like they are tonight. There were not too many balls even during batting practice that were hit out.
Yeah, the players got a feel for the ballpark during BP, and you're right. This is not the ballpark that fools you. That in batting practice, when the sun is up, it flies. Then the game starts and it doesn't fly. It's pretty consistent. Batting practice, it wasn't carrying, and it's not going to carry tonight.
A ball and 2 strikes on Matt Kemp. The Dodgers threatening here in the first inning with Hernandez at third and Freese at second. The 1-2. Trying to backdoor him but missed. 2-2.
When you pitch in a big ballpark like this, a lot of times pitchers will default to pitching away from hitters, forcing them to hit the fly ball more to the gaps in center field. You don't want to give them something they can pull down the lines where it's easier to hit it out, of course, because of distance, but that's where it will carry.
On a 2-2, Kemp pops it foul and will do it again.
Giants aren't playing for anything, but Madison is up for this game. That last fastball at 92. His average fastball, just hovers a tick over 90.
He's a different guy at this point. His 8th major league season. 4-time All-Star. Digs into that glove. Comes home 2-2 again. And gets Kemp swinging. Dodgers strand him at second and third here in the first, and Hyun-Jin Ryu takes the mound. The biggest start he's made since the 2014 postseason. Game 1 against the Giants. Final weekend of the regular season. Back in a moment. Well, could be the final few games Hunter Pence plays in a Giants uniform with his contract up. He'll lead things off, then Panic, then Longoria with Huntley, Crawford, and the rookie Garcia, Austin Slater, Gorkis, Hernandez. Hyun-Jin Ryu. Look at those numbers against San Francisco over the last 2 years. Although it's nothing personal, San Francisco, Ryu's been really good against everybody in 2018. His first pitch of the night misses away to Pence. He's back downhill and gets strike one.
Ryu has been immaculate with his location. And you think about him, you don't think about an electric fastball. You think about a good pitcher with a good pitch mix, a great pulse. The funny thing is, when you look at the statistics, his fastball is the pitch that gets hit for the lowest average. And that tells you that he has outstanding command with it. He does a great job keeping it on the edges, and then how it relates to all of his other pitches.
Here's his 2-1. It's a big bounce. It is short. Machado measures it up, throws him out. Yeah, that fastball of his, really, you can follow the success or lack of on the fastball to his final line. Last two starts where he's not giving anything up. Opponents are hitting below 200 on it. Remember, he gotten hit around a little bit in a few starts before that. Opponents were hitting close to 400 against the fastball then.
In some ways, he pitches backwards. He'll steal a strike with his fastball. A lot of times you hear that about a slow curveball or a slider. And then he'll put you away with a well-located fastball after lulling you to sleep.
Here he comes to Joe Panic with strike one. Joe Panic, you probably remember, started the season with game-winning solo home runs and back-to-back 1-0 wins against the Dodgers. He'd hit another homer in their 5th game, and so 3 home runs over the first 5 games of the season for Panic. You know how many he's hit since? 1. 4 home runs total for Panic, who's had to battle through injuries for much of the year. You put it all together, it's been one of his worst offensive seasons. It's a weak little pop-up that Machado puts away, 2 gone.
Tough, rugged players, gamers, they play through injuries, but sometimes the statistics suffer. It's that balance between the training room and management. That is he good enough to play? Yes. Is he good enough to succeed?
Similar story for Evan Longoria in his first year in San Francisco. Just a month and a half with a broken hand. He's battled a sore knee lately. And he too is having the worst offensive season of his career. The Giants as a team 2nd worst in baseball, averaging under 4 runs per game. That's a nice looking changeup, and it's 1-1. This has been one of the top offensive players in baseball over the last decade. A lot of that over the first half of that decade. He started his time in Tampa Bay. He's fallen into an even lower level lately. Carves one out down the line. Foul. 1-2.
And he has worn those results on his face and his mannerisms. This is a guy who has had a lot of stress this year and not understanding coming over here, and big news, big deal. But boy, it has been a struggle for him all year. He always played with a lot of confidence. He hasn't been there this year. He has been lost and struggling.
Hyun-Jin Ryu looking for a 1-2-3 first. Count goes to 2-2 on Longoria. Ryu coming off 6 shutout innings against San Diego on Sunday. And over his last 2 starts, 13 consecutive scoreless innings. His 2-2. Full count.
Really, with Ryu in his bad games, it seems like it's bad luck. He doesn't walk a lot of guys, strikes out a significant amount, but when they put the ball in play in his bad games, it just seems like the exit velocities are low. It just seems to find a hole.
Swatted to right. Kike Hernandez playing there tonight. Flags it down, and a 1-2-3 inning for Ryu, making it 14 consecutive scoreless innings. Mobile earlier today, the Cubs over the Cardinals by a final of 8-4. Chris Bryant, who's been battling through that shoulder injury, went deep. The Cardinals on the verge of being eliminated from postseason contention. At this point, the Dodgers' magic number for postseason berth, and this is over St. Louis, is 2. So any combination of 2 Dodger wins or Cardinal losses will lock up a wild card berth for Dave Roberts' team. Chris Taylor leads off the second and takes strike 1 for Madison Bumgarner. .354 average for Taylor here in September, 3rd in the National League. Starting tonight in center, jamming 1 foul, strike 2. Now with the Cardinals' loss, the one thing that it does is basically at this point, the Dodgers, if they win 1 game this weekend, and Dave Roberts' team setting the bar a whole lot higher than that, but by winning 1 game, they'd guarantee some form of an extended season past Sunday. You guarantee to at least play in some form of tiebreaker by winning 1.
That is not the goal,
no,
but it sure removes a little bit of pressure knowing that you have a game past 162. Is it the ultimate goal? No. But you have to get through those steps to get to the ultimate goal, which is catching Colorado and winning the division, or maybe a 163 against them.
.2 again is taken high. And the magic number to force that game 163 against Colorado is 4. And by the looks of it right now, they're not going to get any help dropping that magic number from the Rockies, who again have a lead. They've hit 4 home runs tonight, lead the Nationals 5-2 in the 7th. 1-2. Nationals have 12 hits in that game. They're just 2 runs.
They had bases loaded and hit into a double play. They had bases loaded 2 out and got a strikeout after battling back from a 3-1 count. It has been a lot of opportunity and a lot of frustration for the Nats.
On another 1-2. Taylor watches that one miss away. 2 balls, 2 strikes. At least they're not the Phillies. Gosh.
Well, they just felt like they just rolled over. A young team that collapses and no longer has anything to play for, and they looked like they just showed up, put the uniforms on, but that was about it.
With the back door for strike 3. Bumgarner's second K, 1 out. The Nationals have won 4 of 5. Since early September, only the Milwaukee Brewers have a better record than the Nationals do. They've gone 12-6. There's a good chance Strasburg and Scherzer go over the next 2 games of that series. And a scoreless second. Here's Grandal. Strike 1. Yasmani's shown signs of coming out of his slump in recent days. Reaching base at almost a .500 clip in his last 10 games. Although here finds himself in an 0-2 hole.
Both of these starting pitchers are going to find that outside corner to the righties. If it's going to be wide from Brian Knight, the home plate umpire, it's going to be very hard to hit and score runs.
That one's just foul.
I would bet that Madison Bumgarner's pitch selection will default to over there. A, the ballpark, and B, if there is a wide strike zone out there. And if you can do that the first time around the order, you're going to leave the inside against righties as a big place where you can jam people later in the game.
Softly hit, but to the perfect spot. 1 out single for Yasmani Grandal.
Put it in play with 2 strikes. Give yourself a chance. Very nicely done.
One on, 1 out, and here's Brian Dozier. Could this be the night where it clicks for Dozier? Could this be the night where Brian finally gets something to go his way? He's 4 for his last 54, but hitting into a lot of tough luck lately. He takes ball 1.
The peripherals say that he should be getting some hits, so that's a sign usually that you keep putting him in the lineup and you keep saying, all right, it's going to change.
The 1-0. He gets that generous outside corner again. And Mississippi boy Brian Dozier, you could read his lips there. Gosh darn it, he said. One, 1-2.
You know, hitters will turn to the umpire on borderline pitches or ones that they believe are outside, and they won't argue with him, but they will ask, is that as far as you're going to go?
Better be, saying, huh?
when it's going over the chalk line of the left-hand batter's box on the inside corner, that's a wide plate.
One, 2. Another foul. Brian saying to him, look, Mr. Knight, you have any idea how tough it's been for me lately? And you're going to give him 6 inches off of the outside? Gosh darn it.
Exactly. Gosh darn it.
First at bat for Dozier since Monday. He went 0 for 2 in that opener in Arizona. He waits on another 1-2 and watches it miss away.
It's a mental battle when you get one called on you out there and then you get 2 strikes. You come out of the strike zone, have to reach for something, hit it weakly, and you stick with your strike zone.
It was a popular opinion Maybe it was wishful thinking. Maybe it was something that they've seen recently in his pregame work. But it was a popular opinion around the team today and around the batting cage that Brian Dozier could be a guy that could have a good night against Madison Bumgarner. He's got Grandal at first with one out, and on another 2-2, he fouls it again. So only seen Bumgarner 5 times. He's gone 1 for 5. Obviously playing much of his career in the American League before his trade at the deadline. Another 2-2. Hard hit off of Crawford. He gets him at second. Grandal says, hold on, take a look.
It's kind of an optical illusion in live because a pop-up slide sometimes looks like you've already arrived because you're popping up, but you really haven't reached the bag yet. It looks like Monty didn't pop up too early. He goes into the bag, and the end of the momentum after touching the bag brings him up. And he looked like he was out by a little bit.
So no challenge. Dozier at first now with 2 gone for Ryu, who swings and misses, and it's 0-1. Another hard hit out for Brian Dozier. Over 100 miles per hour off of the bat. 0-2.
His spray pattern is pretty tight, though, and there's a lot of defenders on the left side for Brian Dozier. So that does get into the peripherals and the exit velocity, but 3 fielders on the left when Dozier's up there.
Bumgarner gets it by Ryu. He's got bookend strikeouts here in the second. No score to the bottom half in San Francisco. See a Southern California BMW Center today for exceptional offers, or visit SoCalBMW.com. And by Jack in the Box. Try something different like Jack's Teriyaki Bowls. Only at Jack in the Box for a limited time. Sandy and Don Drysdale with a Say Hey Kid Willie Mays. Shortly after Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in 1947 with the Dodgers, they played an exhibition game against the Birmingham Black Barons, whose best player was a 16-year-old Willie Mays. And the Dodgers were so impressed with that 16-year-old that they quickly notified management and said, you got to take a look at this guy. You know, Jackie's opened that door for black players into the majors. Here's Nick Hundley to lead off the second, taking ball one from Hyun-Jin Ryu. But Branch Rickey's assistant, who was at the game as well, shot down the idea. He said that he didn't think that Mays could hit a curveball. 4 years later, made his major league debut with the Giants.
At 16 years old, you haven't seen a lot of good curveballs yet, and the curveball is an experiential pitch to learn how to hit. So that scouting report was a little too tight.
Jumped the gun on it, maybe. That's a high fly ball left field. Back goes Kemp in the corner. Gone. A solo home run from Nick Hundley has given the Giants a 1-0 lead.
A lot of people came out here tonight to kind of hate on the Dodgers, and Hundley gives them something to cheer about as they strike first with this fly ball. I didn't think it was going to get out, but the shortest part of the ballpark, a little angle there, probably about 344 or so.
Brandon Crawford, ball one.
It feels like that's the only place you're really going to get to hit it out, is right down the lines tonight, and especially to left field.
Two and oh. And there's been some discussion of maybe altering the dimensions here by park factors. This place second last in the majors as far as how many home runs it gives up. Larry Bayer, the CEO of the Giants, and some of the discussions about hiring a new GM because they've let Bobby Evans go from that role. They'll hire somebody else this offseason, but he said that he would be open if the new GM thought that that was necessary to altering things some. The 3-0 is a strike. It's a hard place, I would imagine, to entice free agent hitters to come.
Well, and to trade for bats like Longoria and McCutchen, and all of a sudden their production goes down to like the worst in their career. So a little harder for the GMs. They're the park factor, of course, and they have the plotting of all the fly balls by hitters and where they would have landed in your park. But the elements are also part of it, with the wind and the temperature.
1-0 second inning. Ryu to Crawford with a payoff. He walked him. That's only the fourth walk for Hyun-Jin Ryu since coming back from the DL in August. 50 strikeouts to 4 walks. That is by far the best strikeout to walk ratio in baseball in that span.
Two things out of the ordinary for him right now, the home run and the walk. And with no outs here, he needs to get it back together quickly.
With the rookie Aramis Garcia standing in. This is with his first pitch. It's a curve. It's 1-0. It's not even close. It's August 1st, a 17-1 strikeout to walk ratio. Pretty good names on that list. Back-to-back curves, back-to-back balls.
If you drop the qualifier in the starting pitching category, either in innings or in starts, Ryu's going to be right there with the best in the game. He just doesn't have the reps everybody else has, but when he has been on the mound, he has been exceptional.
A 2-0. Missed badly. Yeah, so #1 in baseball in earned run average is going to win the National League Cy Young most likely. Number 2 in baseball and earned run average is going to win the American League Cy Young probably. And number 3 in ERA is this guy.
And lowering the qualifiers, you see at the bottom the 10 starts in 75 innings. And that's where Ryu is.
It's in there with a changeup, 3-1.
Those statistics from the beginning of the year right into All-Star break, he'd be an All-Star. So we have an All-Star pitcher on the mound tonight. Not in title, but in performance.
Full count. He's been known as a big game pitcher throughout his major league career, and really that goes back to his time in the KBO, Korea. Hyun-Jin says that he's always, for whatever reason, just had a knack for balancing the anxiety and the excitement that come when the stakes are at their highest. Good lead for Crawford. He takes off on a fly ball to right, fading its way. Still full.
Big games for me, it felt like my world was closing in the closer I got to the big game. I didn't hear as many things around me. I didn't see as many things. I didn't react to things in a bigger way, whether it be somebody on the road cutting you off or somebody making a noise in the house as you're reading a book. Just you feel it all kind of closing in around you, and there's just an intent about what is in front of me is the most important thing. Nothing around you is important, and you just feel that tunnel vision, that focus start to come on.
Another 3-2, a runner goes again, and that is back-to-back walks for Hyun-Jin Ryu, a very rare thing. First and second, nobody out still. Yeah, so any pitcher that is in a game like this is going to feel those two things Hyun-Jin mentioned, right? The anxiety, the excitement. And so to your point, it just becomes, how do you channel that?
And you pre-play it. I did, at least, as I experienced it and melted down, or experienced it and got too excited. I had to start pre-playing it, and I think that's why the big games, it's interesting about when to put the game face on too, because it can actually sap you of energy if you let it come on too soon.
Austin Slater, ground ball to short. Machado to second, one. Dozier to first. In time, a double play. An inning-changing double play potentially. From first and second, nobody out, to a man at third with 2 out.
Manny Machado did a nice job going to his right, and the velocity on his throw right here is why they get the double play. Yeah, a little bobble, and then Dozier a little cumbersome around second base. But the velocity of the feed from Machado, he uses his arm deep in the hole to go to first or on the cutoffs and relays. But right there on that feed, to get it over there that quick and accurately, even with a couple of bumbles by the middle infielders, they get it done.
Ryu getting a little bit of help there from Austin Slater after back-to-back walks. Slater goes after the first pitch, rounds into a double play, and Algorquez Hernandez looks at strike one. "15 home runs this year for Hernandez. You see there, didn't have a single one last year. Only had 5 total his first 4 years in the majors. Went home to Venezuela this offseason and made a concerted effort to get stronger. Concerted effort to swing with a little more aggression. The 31-year-old has seen it pay off.
Haven't we heard that from a lot of guys around the league, talking about, I need to swing harder?
Yeah.
And you know what? With borderline hitters that are able to now emotionally and are actually being instructed to take that approach, because the value of a strikeout in the hitter's eyes and the embarrassment has gone down. The value of a strikeout in management's eyes has kind of gone down, the embarrassment. So A lot of these guys are finding a more accurate and powerful bat with the culture changing, being instructed or allowed to just let it go.
The baseball's kind of been desensitized to the strikeout. More damage when you hit in the air.
Yeah, and more conservative approach. These guys might have hit for the same average, conservative or aggressive, but now they're getting higher slugs.
2-2. High ball, deep center. Taylor to the edge of the warning track, and AT&T Park swallows this one. It didn't swallow. The one off of the bat of Hundley starts the inning with a home run to the third 1-0.
Justin Turner has had to deal with it from Brian Knight. Chris Taylor's had to deal with it. We saw with Brian Dozier out there, that's a strike. And then with 2 strikes, he has to protect. These Dodger hitters are going to need to make an adjustment if Brian Knight's going to still continue to call that wide strike away from the right-handed hitters.
Once through the order, Bumgarner 3 Ks. He's given up 2 hits, no walks. One of those 2 hits came on the first pitch of the game to this guy, Kike Hernandez. Ball 1. As we discussed in Phoenix this week, you know that you have Turner and Machado in there every day. But you also at this point can make a pretty good bet that you're going to have Kike Hernandez in the lineup, regardless of who's on the mound. That's a strike 1-1. You have the traditional righty-lefty matchup here. Of course, he's so good against Bumgarner. But overall this year, he's been better against right-handed pitching. So he's getting plenty of opportunities against righties, too. He's got another hit against Bumgarner. He's seen 3 pitches and delivered 2 singles tonight. They've gone final in Denver. The Rockies hit 4 home runs to beat the Nationals 5-2, winning their 8th in a row.
Clinch a playoff spot for the 2nd year in a row. Not a division title, but a playoff spot.
Leadoff man on, Justin Turner up. Outside corner again. And Brian Knight hearing it from that Dodger dugout.
It is really wide out there. I mean, it's one thing to say, you know, 1 out of 8 pitches out there, it's off the plate, it's called for a strike, but they are consistently off the plate.
Look out.
I blinked.
I had you. Whoa.
Clinch.
Oh, she's reaching up to catch it now. Now that in 2, Bumgarner deals. Turner fouls it back in that same direction. You know, the Rockies at this point, winning on the off day yesterday, control their own destiny when it comes to clinching a first division title in franchise history. So if they win all 3 against Washington this weekend, there's nothing the Dodgers can do. Dodgers have to hope for good starts from Steven Strasburg tomorrow and likely Max Scherzer on Sunday. Turner hits a fly ball to deep center field at the track with room. Hernandez back to first, 1 out.
It's a prime example of Madison Bumgarner's stellar ERA here at home, but on the road almost 3 times as high. But those mistakes get captured out there in center field. Middle of the plate cutter. Justin killed it, but this place held it.
1 on 1 out, David Freese. Slider for a strike. "31st time Madison Bumgarner has started against the Dodgers. 15 wins, more than any active pitcher against LA. He's faced him twice this year. His 3rd start of the season coming off of the disabled list. That was in mid-June and then again in early August. And the number's okay. Really good overall against the Dodgers through his career, but this year he's 0-1 and the ERA is closer to 4. Here it comes with a 1-1 pitch, and Freese fouls it off himself in the box. It's 1-2. .6'4", 240 pounds, and in a lot of ways the face of this rivalry from the Giants side in this era. One of the big stories around here, will the new GM of the Giants decide to start a rebuild by trading Madison Bumgarner? Is tonight the final time that he pitches in a Giants uniform? He's got 1 year left on his contract, and if the Giants did decide to go into sell mode, that certainly would kickstart it.
This is a very loyal fan base, and it would be very hard for them to go into a rebuild. They would probably need to call it a retool.
Yeah, phrasing would be important.
Yeah.
Full count.
How are we going to spin this?
Yeah, the Giants on July 1st this year were 45-40. They were within 2.5 games of first, but tied for the worst record in the National League since then, 28-46. This is the first time in a decade that they'll have had back-to-back losing seasons. So yes, maybe hard to go into a rebuild with a loyal fan base, but it might be necessary as Freese takes the walk. First of the night issued by Bumgarner. 2 on with 1 out, and here comes Machado.
The Yankees need the Red Sox. Ali needed Frazier. Dodgers need the Giants to be, relevant and in there and fighting for it. It makes it more exciting. Kind of like it this way, where we're the only one that can win something this year. That was part of the move from New York. Mr. O'Malley convincing the Giants to come with him.
That's a base hit to left field for Machado. Woodward gives Hernandez the wave. Slater's throw is wide, and the game is tied at 1. Manny Machado attacks the first pitch from Bumgarner and singles to left. 1-1 in the third.
He swung at the first pitch in his first at bat, hit a cue shot, but this one, after that experience, times him up. His throw is strong but wide, and I don't know, man, he's got something wrong with his fingers.
Yeah, they're sore from having to do that. 3 of the first 4 in this inning have reached against Bumgarner, and the lone out is the fly ball to the warning track from Turner. So now Matt Kemp takes strike 1.
Manny Machado in wins since he's become a Dodger. See the OPS. Dodgers have had a reputation of having a boom or bust offense. Well, when it's booming, he's in the middle of it.
Kemp hits a hard ground ball to Crawford. There's 1. And a low throw, but 2. Dodgers have tied it on a base hit from Manny Machado.
Every moment this season, get Dodgers home screen icons and features such as MLB.TV Game of the Day, pitch tracking, in-game highlights, live radio broadcast, stats, news, and more. Download MLB at Bat today. It will also be a useful app in the playoffs.
Yeah, right. Madison Bumgarner leads off this third and takes ball 1 from Ryu.
Maybe for the game 163 and for a play-in game, a wild card game.
Boy, if you can take a step back from the stress of watching the Dodgers in this, what an amazing race across the National League this year. It's 2-0. I mean, it's shaping up to be as good of a finish as we've seen in the National League in a long, long time. The only sure thing at this point is Atlanta. (2-0). 2-1. Cubs won today to extend the lead over the Brewers to a 1.5 games. Ryan Braun has just homered for Milwaukee to put them up 6-5 over the Tigers in the 8th. They came on to the 9th. Jeremy Jeffers trying to close it down for the Brewers. 2-2. And so as it stands right now, it would be Brewers Dodgers in the wild card game. It's a bit of a scary proposition facing the Brewers in one game like that because of the way that bullpen works. Counsell very aggressive. You get a lead, he's going to start throwing those relievers at you quickly. Count is full on Bumgarner. Remaining games for the contenders. Obviously counts tonight. Got him swinging on a changeup. His first K tonight, one away in the third. Back to the top of the order for Hunter Pence. It's been fun watching Hunter Pence through the years. 7th and final season here in San Francisco. And somebody that these Giants fans love.
Sunday will be Fan Appreciation Day, and I'm sure Hunter will get to play that day and get a wonderful round of applause if Bruce Bochy pulls him out maybe in a certain time of the game to get acknowledged.
Strike one. This guy's an Iron Man for such a long stretch of his career, but it's been the opposite of that in the final few years. He's battled through injuries. Fouls it off, and it's 0-2. This year it's a thumb injury. Heard it in the home opener this year. Diving for a ball. Played through it for a while, but it lingered. He's missed 60 games with that injury. After missing a month with a hamstring injury previous year. 2 months with a hamstring injury 2 years ago. A broken arm a few years back. He takes ball one.
He wears the highest pants in the history of the game.
Yeah. Flips this one into shallow center. Who wants it? Chris Taylor. Hunter Pence started rolling the pant legs way up above the knees like that a few years ago. Says it gives him a freer feeling when he's playing, but that he hears it from fans all the time who say it's not where you're supposed to wear your pants to. And he always responds, what makes you an authority on how to wear my baseball pants?
Good response.
Yeah.
Really, his baseball shorts.
It's kind of turned him into that, huh? 2 gone here in the third.
There's conventionally high
and tight.
And then there's Hunter.
Joe Panik. Strike one.
And you usually say high socks. You don't even say high pants.
Right.
But with Pence, it's like, those are high pants.
Yeah. Little bit low, 1-1. Dribbled along first, it will stay fair, and a 1-2-3 third inning for Hyun-Jin Ryu. Over the years of this rivalry, it's often been defined by the managers of the two sides, and nobody embraced that quite like Tommy.
He loved to be cheered and did everything he could for the Dodgers, and still does. And he loved to be booed here. It fueled him.
Chris Taylor to open the fourth in a 1-1 game. Giants getting a run on the Nick Hundley homer in the second. The Dodgers tying it up with a Manny Machado RBI single in the third. Here in the fourth, Chris Taylor watches a slider for strike one. The early 1900s of this rivalry. Incredible continuity in the managers, and they were a big part of the rivalry then. It's 1-1. John McGraw, the Giants. Wilbert Robinson in Brooklyn. Wilbert was such a big part of the fabric of the team that they called them the Robins for a while. Chop foul 1-2. Now those two guys, though, part of what made it a special rivalry at that point between the managers was that they were best friends. They were teammates in Baltimore. Opened a men's club together in Baltimore. Diamond Cafe, it was called. It had a bowling alley, saloon, men's club, all rolled into one. That's high in 2-2. Now Wilbur Robinson ran it successfully until the baseball franchise moved to New York, became the Yankees. Business at the bar slowed, and so McGraw invited Wilbert to come join him as a part-time coach with the Giants. Taylor swings and misses, one away here in the fourth. So yeah, Wilbert Robinson, who the Dodgers were named after for a while, had 3 years as a part-time coach with the New York Giants, but his good buddy John McGraw fired him after a few years. At the same time, Charles Ebbets was looking for a new Brooklyn manager. He hired Wilbert. Old best friends. Went almost 2 decades after that, managing rivals and hardly ever talking. A 1-1 game in the fourth. The Yasmani Grandal takes ball one from Madison Bumgarner. Yasmani singled his first time and is hitting above 500 on this road trip. High in the air, short right center. Joe Panic called off by Pence. 2 out.
Relationships in baseball are key to where guys end up. And Dave Roberts comes through San Diego. The Dodgers are battling out with the Colorado Rockies. Bud Black came through San Diego. Bruce Bochy, San Diego. So those close friendships and ties from staffs or teammates, they continue on, but sometimes you end up on opposite ends of the equation.
Dave Roberts, like you, on both sides of this rivalry. Strike one on Dozier. Gives you an interesting perspective.
Sure does. It's really interesting when the guys used to be your rivals and now you're dressing next to them in the locker room.
0-2.
I found that the harder you competed on the field against your opponent, if you ended up being their teammate, you were actually welcomed a lot quicker because they respected you for the way you went at it, and they're like, now you're going to do it for our side.
Of course, Dave Roberts played for Bruce Bochy. 2 years in San Diego and 2 years here in San Francisco. And he said that a lot of his managerial style he's taken from Bruce and from Bud Black, who you mentioned. He was the bench coach for Bud in San Diego. On a 1-2, Dozier takes ball two.
Our director, Dustin Venti, took a shot of Yasiel Puig, and I think after that you would take a shot of Madison Bumgarner. If they ended up on the same team someday, I'm not sure they would get along so quickly.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But they both have approached this rivalry with a lot of intensity, personality, and taking it personal. Why are you looking at me? Why are you looking at me? Don't look at me.
Don't look at me. Here comes the 2-2. Yeah, you couldn't have more polar opposite personalities. Yasiel Puig and Madison Bumgarner. Of course, both, like you mentioned, bring a level of intensity. Just a much different version of that intensity. Another 2-2. Ball 3. Bumgarner to Dozier with a 3-2. This time last year, Dozier was in a heated race as well with Minnesota, getting into the wild card game. It was a big part of that run for them. Another payoff, another foul in the wild card game. He led that game off at Yankee Stadium with a home run. Ninth pitch. Popped up on the infield. Aramis Garcia completes the first 1-2-3 inning of the ninth for Bumgarner. Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
Dodgers as we go behind the scenes with Matt Kemp as he spends an off day at Jimmy Kimmel Live. Plus follow Jock Peterson to the Louisville Slugger Factory in Kentucky. Don't miss Backstage Dodgers tonight, presented by Cadillac after the postgame show on Sportsnet LA.
One hit against Ryu through 3 innings, but it left the yard. Home run for Nick Hundley, who's due to bat second here in the 4th. Evan Longoria will lead it off, then Hundley, then Crawford. Another low-scoring game so far. That's been the norm for these teams this year. Average of about 7 runs total. And the Dodgers and Giants meet up this year. 1 ball, no strikes. Perfect pitch. 1-1. Well, Hyun-Jin doesn't have as much of a day of start routine and superstition as he does day before superstition. Has to do with what he eats. He has to have Korean barbecue the day before. Doesn't matter what he has day of. He's got to have that Korean beef day before it starts. Went about a half an hour out of downtown San Francisco last night to find it. Roller to Turner. Longoria reaches his freeze, drops the throw. What in the world?
You rarely see this, and this will be an error on freeze. Justin Turner has had some issues throwing. This one just clanks off, almost like he lost it. Wow.
And in a game like this, with the stakes being what they are, you know, cringe and basically cover your eyes until this inning is over. As Nick Hundley takes ball 1, and they look at his home run on StatCast AI, powered by AWS. You said it, probably the only part of the ballpark the thing was getting out in.
Measured at 360, 339 down the line there. The wall angles out a little bit.
1-1.
We've seen the balls to center field that are landing on the warning track, about 3 of them.
Probably the starting catcher at this point, with Buster Posey done for the year following the hip surgery. That's by him, 1-2. Not just Posey, they have been destroyed by injuries. Belt is done for the year with a knee injury. Pablo Sandoval, Steven Duggar, both season-ending injuries. That's just the position players. You also have Jeff Samardzija, Johnny Cueto. Season-ending injuries as well. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Nick Hundley. Runner at first, nobody out, 2-2. He went around. 3 strikes out Hundley, 1 away here in the 4th. And the Giants last year was 2nd worst offensively in baseball, under 4 runs per game. So a couple of the moves they made, Austin Jackson, Andrew McCutchen, obviously Longoria as well, but Jackson and McCutchen have been traded. Longoria is having the worst season of his career. Crawford, after a great start, has been the worst hitter in the National League over the last few months. We mentioned the injury issues they've dealt with. Put it all together and you get 73 and 86.
And a fired general manager.
Yeah. There's Crawford hitting it hard into right. Throwing over Machado into third, with Longoria hanging on at second. 2 on with 1 out.
Brandon Crawford has been cold over his last 6 games, only hitting at a 150 clip. We've been looking for that hit for a while.
He's one of the guys that's gotten an opportunity because of all those injuries. 25-year-old rookie Aramis Garcia, native of Florida, to FIU. And already in his first few weeks in the majors has a 4-hit game to his credit. Boy, that outside corner continues to be a generous one for both pitchers from I'm going to call Brian McKnight. Brian Knight. One and one. Two balls and a strike.
We've seen this called on Dodgers, but maybe that one's a little bit too far outside.
On a 2-1. This is in that same spot. The ball 3. Kelby Tomlinson in the on-deck circle. Austin Slater's spot due up. It looks like he's going to get pinch hit for. 2 on 1 out and a 3-1 that's popped to right center field. Hernandez lays out and smothers it. Here's Dozier flipping it to second. Everybody's safe. The bases are loaded.
PK makes a gallant effort, but it looks like it's going to be a trap. Even if he does get it, yeah, it bounces and then it's in the glove, but it hit the ground. A nice call by the umpires to say no catch, no replay needed. Longoria was really the runner that got hung out to dry, but there wasn't enough communication on the field to get the ball thrown to third.
Bases now loaded. Tough luck for Ryu in this inning with the air on freeze opening the door.
Sometimes with defense, you can hurt yourself, like freeze at first base, or you might be able to find an out that you will possibly just let go by the wayside. I'm not sure about the communication up the middle here with the Dodgers. Kike makes a great try. When he gets the ball in, there's a force out at second or third. Brian Dozier just did not get the message from Manny Machado or Justin Turner or somebody yelling 3-3-3, because Longoria right there is hung out to dry. You see Dozier's got the ball. If somebody had told him prior to getting that ball, third is where we're going, there was a shot.
Tomlinson bunts to the first pitch with a safety squeeze put on by Bruce Bochy. Diving back to the bag is Longoria. Tomlinson pinch hitting for Austin Slater, who grounded into a double play his first time.
Very rarely do you see that in the fourth inning.
Yeah. On the ground to second. They get one there, and they turn it to get out of the jam and keep it tied. To by your Southern California Toyota dealers. Toyota's 2018 clearance countdown is on. Get the biggest savings on an adventurous new RAV4. Big time double play turned by the Dodgers. So an inning that was teed up by poor defense. They redeemed themselves with some good defense, going 4-6-3 to get out of it. 9-1-2 against Bumgarner and a tie game in the 5th. That means Hyun-Jin Ryu to lead things off. And he takes a strike. The Dancing Bear and really swinging. 280 batting average this year, one of the best of any pitchers. It's a high fly ball to left center field. Gregor Blanco back shy of the warning track. I mean, he's a split centimeter on the barrel of the bat from hitting that thing out of here. 1 out, 5th inning. Here comes Kike Hernandez, who is 2 for 2 tonight against Bumgarner, and now 474 lifetime.
He sees him well, and he puts a good swing on it, and I'm sure Bumgarner is getting tired of this. It'll be interesting to see this confrontation, how he attacks him.
Two of the 4 Dodger hits against Bumgarner through 4 innings. Coming inside with the first one here and missing up. Last 2 weeks, Kike hitting close to 400 overall. One on one. Helmet especially pine tarry tonight. Maybe it's the lighting. Maybe it's the fact it's game 160. Nice pitch, 1-2. One ball, 2 strikes. Kike Hernandez takes it in the dirt, 2-2. Something he started doing intentionally. That pine tar all over the helmet last year, late in the season. And of course, had the memorable postseason with the 3 home runs in the clinching game against the Cubs. With a helmet like that, went with a clean helmet to start the year. Struggled. Said, I need to put the pine tar back on my helmet. Back up the box, and his ownership of Madison Bumgarner continues. These have not been cheapies.
Call him up to a higher level. Carl's Cam taking a shot at Kike Hernandez. 3rd single tonight off of Bumgarner. He almost got a little flesh with it.
Runner at first with 1 out for Justin Turner. He flied to the warning track his last time. On the first pitch of this at bat, he hits a fly ball to left center field. At the track, at the wall, it's gone! Who else? 2-run home run, Justin Turner, and the Dodgers lead it in the 5th. David Freese now looks at a strike. Nothing in 2.
Justin has hit the ball hard all 3 at bats tonight. One to straightaway center field back in the 3rd that should have been a home run everywhere else but here. That one he pulled, and boy, he crushed it. By the 382 sign compared to trying to hit it over 400 feet to straightaway center.
A 1-2, and Freese takes it low.
There's power in the beard.
Dodgers this season, when they homer, 29 games above 500 versus 12 games below 500 when they don't. Nice catch by a Chase Utley fan. Freese now with a base hit into center.
The inning started with Ryu hitting a long fly ball, and it hasn't stopped as far as hard hit balls off of Bumgarner, followed by Kike Hernandez with one up the middle, Justin Turner's home run, and now David Freese right back up the box.
He's at first as Machado comes up, having driven in the first Dodger run with an RBI single in the 3rd. Bumgarner delivers. Machado watches ball 1. Rockies already won tonight. They're 8th in a row. So the Dodgers trying to keep pace, trying to keep it at a game deficit going into the final 2 days of the season. That's foul. We're going to have one National League Division race, 1 game difference going into the final 2 days. Cubs and the Brewers in the Central. Could we have 2? Could we be headed for 2 game 163s on Monday? 2 balls, 1 strike.
I love that the playoffs start with consequential games right away. Usually just a wild card game, but if we have extra ones with game 163, how much more fun is that?
It really would be like an extra round of playoffs if you had both divisions playing 163 Monday, where the winners would advance to the division series. The losers would kind of play like the consolation game, which would be the wild card game. It's flipped foul, backing out of play.
The October baseball feast has a great appetizer.
Yeah, sure does. It's almost like Olympic hockey format or World Cup format, where it put you into the losers bracket if you lost the game 163, still with a chance to win your way back into the winners bracket, College World Series style. 3-2.
Beginning of the year, the goal was to win the division. That still is the goal. But there is a net under you, and get in any way you can. World champs, the Giants, have gotten in through the wild card.
Another payoff. Pop flying to center. Hernandez, foul number 2. Well, Bumgarner's already at 90 pitches with 2 gone here in the 5th. And here's Kemp. At first, Garcia near the Dodger dugout is out of room.
You know, one of the really good things for the Dodgers, even though it's coming down to Saturday or Sunday or a wild card game, is they have multiple pitchers in their rotation throwing the ball well right now. So in timing it up and going, oh, where are we going to be when we get to the wild card game in the rotation? Where are we going to be with a possible game 163? Well, Buehler's throwing the ball well. Ryu's throwing the ball well. Kershaw's throwing the ball well. So you don't get yourself in a rock and a hard place all of a sudden with your starting pitching. I think you feel very comfortable with those 3 on the mound in a do or die kind of game. And then after that, you look at it, is it going to be a Ross Stripling? Is it going to be an Alex Wood? Where's Rich Hill fit in?
Ball on a strike.
And I think right now the Dodgers would be comfortable with a lot of those guys. And if you're not in a place where I'm super comfortable with the guy you're putting on the hill at the beginning, you're going to have a very deep bullpen, and you can make it a bullpen day. Because it pretty much is all hands on deck when you get into those game 7s, wild card games.
There is a scenario, and Alana touched on this during the pregame show, but there is a scenario where it would make sense to scratch Walker Buehler from Sunday if that game kind of became meaningless. Say the Dodgers lost tomorrow or tonight, and the Rockies won again tomorrow, wrapped up the division, yet the Dodgers had wrapped up the wild card. You save Walker Buehler then for the wild card game.
Definitely do that. And I would think that they, you know, with the expanded rosters, game 163, you still have a 40-man roster.
Yes.
So all of a sudden you're not in a pinch with, we need a long outing from somebody. You've got plenty of arms, and you want to have the best one available to start that game. The rhythm of all the pitchers' workouts and workloads will be right to that game.
Bumgarner strikes out Kemp, and the inning comes to an end, but Justin Turner has given the Dodgers their first lead of the night. This guy's had so many big hits throughout his career. He adds another one halfway home in San Francisco. in front as this game goes to the bottom of the 5th. Chris Taylor is now in left field, and Cody Bellinger has come into the game in center as Ryu spins in a breaking ball for strike 1. Gorkis Hernandez. So Matt Kemp has left the game.
Dave Roberts going early to his defensive lineup, and I could see why in this ballpark. A huge outfield. Now he has a lot of speed out there. And also the value of a run in this park is a lot higher. It's not like playing in Arizona or Colorado where 3-run lead is like a 1-run lead. 2-run lead here against a pretty anemic Giant offense. You can go defense early instead of waiting until the 7th.
As bad as the Giants offense has been overall this year, second to last in the majors at under 4 runs per game. In September, historically bad. Not just bad in the majors this year, bad when you're looking at like National League all time. 2.7 runs per game in September. That's the 12th lowest runs per game for a National League team since these teams moved west. 2-2. I mean, there's 3 days left, and they're averaging 2.7 runs per game this month.
It's definitely not the roster that they thought they were going to have or the health they thought they were going to have, but everything pushed together. Nothing has improved here in September.
Cody Bellinger gets his feet wet right away. Hernandez the first out of the 5th.
Tickets for potential postseason home games at Dodger Stadium for the National League Wild Card, Division Series, and League Championship Series are on sale now. Tickets available at Dodgers.com/postseason. I got excited reading that one.
I can understand why.
Excitement stutter. Don't worry, I'm fine.
Good. Bumgarner to hit. Strike 1, using the same pitch that he struck Bumgarner out with the first time. Only 2 Ks for Ryu tonight. Oh, 2. Just the 1 run on 3 hits. 1 run came on a Nick Hundley homer to open the 2nd.
Hey, hot dogs here.
One and 2.
Dodgers have really taken the crowd a little bit out of the game. They're having to use the Oregon and kind of rally them. The Giants climb back in or get a run, you'll hear the beat LA chants, but right now they've got them sitting on their hands.
Got a fastball by him this time. 2 out. Well, the base is empty. It's Pence. You know, Ryu different than most pitchers, and the numbers get better as the game goes on. First 3 innings of the game, he's got an ERA around 3. But when he gets through the 3rd, that ERA is below 1. Here comes at this first one to Pence. It's through the back door for strike 1.
Not about power with him, it's about confusion. And I think all of a sudden he starts getting you out, and he's still got other tools to go to, so you really just can't pin him down in the corner, especially the way he has located the baseball this whole year when he's been out there and healthy. We mentioned earlier in his bad games, it's really bad luck. weakly hit balls that find holes.
There's 1-1. On the ground is second for Dozier. 1-2-3 go the Giants in the fifth. On to the sixth in a 3-1 game. In front 3-1. And we welcome inside Joe Davis, Oral Hershiser, and so far tonight, Justin Turner, the hero of this game.
Yeah, this is a tough place to hit home runs, but we've seen a couple. Justin Turner's was a lot farther. And I'll tell you what, you know, he has been fantastic, but to hit it out of this ballpark, you got to hit it right. And you know what, you don't go up there trying to hit a home run, but you're trying to get the ball in the air off of Bumgarner, and you know what, he did it well. Three times in a row, three hard hit balls. Line drive to right, a deep fly ball to center field, and then the home run.
Chris Taylor leading this inning off against Bumgarner. 0-2 tonight, couple of strikeouts. Garner's pitch count nearing 100. And a 3-1 game here in the sixth. Foul back 0-2. Scott Alexander has started to warm in Dave Roberts' bullpen. Junior Hughes spot due up fourth in this inning. Pitch count very well under control for him. We'll do the 0-2 again. You know, these games will be managed very aggressively. First of all, you have the cupboard full, so you can with a 40-man roster. And as much as Dave Roberts and the Dodgers try to exploit every matchup that they can, you're going to see a lot of pitching changes in these three games.
That foul ball got a big chunk of Brian Knight. He's trying to walk it off. Got it inside his shin guard, hit his leg. Let's see where this gets him. Oh, right on the toe. Like a hitter that wears padding.
Finds a way to miss it.
Finds a way to miss all the padding.
A little bit of a chilly night too. That doesn't help. 0-2 again. Now, temperature doesn't say that it's that cold. It's high 50s, but it always feels a little bit colder here.
Yeah, for some reason, the cold in San Francisco kind of gets down into your bones. Maybe it's the humidity. Usually the wind, but it's not that windy.
100th pitch of the night is fouled again.
Last outing of the year, 6 days rest. He wants to be out there. Bumgarner, he's not going to want to come out of this game. Bochy's going to have to take him out when he thinks his health's at risk or there's a problem.
Another 0-2. Ball one. That last outing of the year, and as we touched on, there's a chance it'll be the last outing in a Giants uniform for him. It's Reyes Maranta starting to warm. Sure would be weird to see Madison Bumgarner in a different uniform.
Yes, it would.
Now a 2-2. Taylor grounds it to short. Charging Crawford gets him. So Chris is 0 for 3. One gone here in the 6th. Then up comes Yasmani Grandal. Strike one. And all 1 for 2 tonight. Next month he's starting to get ready for a potential pinch hit opportunity. That ball's driven to left center field, but caught by Blanco.
Live out your dream of becoming a professional baseball player and make plans to attend Dodgers spring training fantasy camp at Camelback Ranch in Glendale, Arizona, January 13th through 19th of 2019, of course. For more information, visit Dodgers.com/fantasycamp.
And the booing you hear is a mixture of boos and pleas because Yasiel has stepped into the on-deck circle. With Hyun-Jin Ryu at only 78 pitches. Dozier will need to reach to officially force Dave Roberts' hand right now. But it doesn't look like there's any intentions of having Ryu go up there. Bumgarner to Dozier with the 0-1. Dave Roberts talks about trying to get ahead of the damage, make moves before the damage comes instead of be reactionary. Definitely leaves you up for criticism more, puts you out on a limb. Ryu giving up just 1 run over 5 innings and only 3 hits. The 1-2.
I've always been a big believer in big games that you know what you have on the mound because he's already been out there performing, and you never know what's going to come through the bullpen gate. I know there's no fencing around the Dodger bullpen here, but there's something that feels good about knowing the guy on the mound has the right makeup, is in the right place.
Bumgarner gets Dozier to finish the Dodgers here in the 6th. Let's see, is Hyun-Jin Ryu going to come back out with his spot not having come up? It looks like he will. Hyun-Jin Ryu, biggest start he's made in a few years, and so far tonight he's given up 1 run through 5.
Every game seems like the biggest game of the year, and of course tonight was again, and Ryu has responded. He has been absolutely fantastic. The 5 innings, the 3 hits, yes, the 1 solo shot, but that's going to happen. But he stayed on the beam, even pitched through a couple of walks, got a double play ball.
2, 3, and 4 coming up. Joe Panik takes strike 1. Looked like Dave Roberts had every intention of having Ryu's night end had his spot gotten up last inning. But the Dodgers go down in order, and so Ryu gets at least another batter. Leadoff single for Joe Panik. Goal at this point, with his spot coming up to start the next inning, may be to try and get him through this 6th. Longoria representing the tying run. Strike 1. Bottom falls out of a change. Evan Longoria tied for the team lead in RBIs with 54. Ground ball is short. Machado feeds Dozier on to first, a double play. 3rd one they've turned tonight.
Ryu has pitched through traffic, a couple of walks earlier in the game in an inning, back to back, but a double play ball rescued him. And there, he got it done quickly after giving up that hit. Dave Roberts going to tell Pedro Baez to slow down, maybe even sit down.
Hundley pumps the first one foul. Hyun-Jin Ryu, 31-year-old, one of the longest tenured Dodgers. Trying to help push the Dodgers into the postseason, where he no doubt will have a role. Last year didn't make the postseason roster. 2014 did. Was very good against St. Louis. And 4 years though since he's pitched in the postseason. The defense positioned well for this ground ball off of the bat of Hundley, and Ryu is through 6 innings with a 3-1 lead. Run on the Nick Hundley home run, and Yasiel Puig set the pinch hit for him here, officially ending his night. Who's in, who's out for the Giants, brought to you by In-N-Out. The night ends for Madison Bumgarner, and one of their top arms in the bullpen, Reyes Maranta, comes in.
Bruce Bochy is not going to use this time to give some young guys experience. They are trying to beat the Dodgers and make it tough on them.
No more polarizing figure in this current rivalry. You wear blue, you love him. You wear orange, you don't. Strike one.
That chorus of boos reminded me of when Tommy Lasorda used to walk out of the locker room in Candlestick. And Tommy would bow to the crowd and the boos would get louder, and then he would walk to the Dodger dugout on the third base side from the gate over on the first base side and blow kisses to the fans and tip his hat. And it would just get louder and louder and louder. It would be like a right fielder walking in to the third base dugout. That's how long the walk was. And it would talk about stirring up the crowd and the rivalry. It's unbelievable.
The kind of boos where if you listen really closely, there's a lot more being said than just boo.
Oh, yeah.
Puig cracks a fly ball to center field, playable for Gorkis Hernandez in the first out of the 7th. Much to the satisfaction of these Giants fans. Puig the first out of the inning, back to the top, and Kike Hernandez.
We just came from Arizona, where the color analyst on the TV side is Bob Brenly, and before every game we chat with them, and we were reliving some of the boos and the rivalry. Longtime Giant, and he was right in the midst of that competition with us.
How about Kike's night? 3 more hits against Madison Bumgarner. Takes a slider for a strike. And he scored 2 of the 3 Dodger runs tonight.
Cementing himself as an everyday player without an everyday position, but an everyday place in the lineup.
Down swinging here on a 98-mile-per-hour fastball. 2 gone. Out comes Justin Turner. Take a look again at his walk-off home run against John Lackey in the National League Championship Series last year. The guy that catches it. And then watch tonight. It's the same guy. His name is Keith. What are the chances? You're the man, Keith. Strike 1.
Same Chase Utley jersey?
Yeah.
Same glove. Saw that.
Oh, you can't change the glove after a catch like that.
I mean, he's locked. He's on his toes every pitch.
Oh, 2. They're probably on their toes now, too, if they weren't before.
There was a lot more flinching on that foul ball straight back than there was on the one earlier. Still reacting to it.
Ball and 2 strikes. Fourteenth home run of the season. One of the biggest yet. Tie-breaking 2-run shot in the 5th against Bumgarner. Here on a 1-2. He takes it inside. Ball 2. A wrist injury that he had during spring training. Hurt his thumb fielding a grounder in Arizona. Dave Roberts said before the game that he was thinking no news was good news and purposely didn't ask Justin how that thumb was feeling. After falling behind 0-2, he's worked it full. His response when somebody asked was, well, he's in the lineup tonight.
To be able to hit alone, just hit with a sore wrist, bad thumb, is unbelievable. To be able to hit with power, that's ridiculous. It's like your mechanics have to be so good because you're not going to have a lot of hand strength at the end. So you've got to be generating all that bat speed with a great lever system and just having enough to hold on to deliver the bat into the ball.
If he reaches, looks like Andrew Tolles will hit. Here comes a 3-2. And he's down swinging. Reyes Moronta with a 1-2-3-7. 3 stretch in San Francisco. Brought to you by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Shop ChooseNissan.com. And by the new movie Venom in theaters everywhere October 5th. Willie Mays playing photographer, and he found quite the subject for it. The regal Don Newcomb. So the well-dressed Nuke that we see at the ballpark now, that's nothing new.
The man has had style for a long time.
Got some defensive changes for you, Oral. Kike Hernandez slides to center field as Yasiel Puig stays in and plays right. Cody Bellinger goes from center to first. Brandon Crawford swings and misses at the first pitch out of the Dodger bullpen tonight from Scott Alexander.
Dodger defense is like a volleyball team. They just go through a rotation.
Which one's the libero?
Now serving Scott Alexander.
Ball on a strike on Crawford. Now 2-1. Crawford, who has really struggled in recent months, has reached both times tonight with a walk and a single. One of the 4 hits against Ryu. And now ball 3. Well, Dave Roberts certainly still exposes himself to some criticism here, with Ryu leaving the game at 85 pitches. And with a 3-1 lead. On the corner, 3-2.
It is so hard as a manager and a pitching coach, because you do have a hot hand, but then you have other data of, you know, what has happened after a certain pitch count. What matchups do I have coming? Do I like that better with a fresh arm? There is no more precise microscope than end of the year games, when every pitch counts, and playoff games where every pitch and batter counts. So it's something you know that you're going to get critiqued on when you take the job.
I think we mentioned his philosophy is to try and anticipate the damage as opposed to reacting to it, making the move when it's too late. And what he sees here is 2 guys coming up in Crawford and Garcia that Ryu is yet to retire tonight. Alexander home with another payoff to Brandon Crawford. He walks in to open the 7th.
Purchase 2019 season tickets to enjoy exclusive experiences throughout the season and guarantee your seats for promotional nights and exciting matchups, including the Cubs and the Yankees are going to come to town. Receive 2018 postseason rights with the purchase of your 2019 season tickets. Visit Dodgers.com/season tickets.
Dave Roberts not going to wait for Alexander to find it with a right-handed batting Aramis Garcia coming up. Pedro Baez coming in. 17 games, and opponents in that span have gone 6 for 60 against him.
He looks like the Pedro Baez that we had the first half of last year. Locked in. The part that's different is the pitch mix. He's using his changeup and his slider a lot more, not just relying on the fastball.
Dave Roberts trusting him in a key spot here after Alexander walks the lone batter that he faces. It's Aramis Garcia representing the tying run. Starts him with a slider for a strike. Those 4 home runs you see from Garcia, those come in just a few weeks in the majors. Alex Wood getting ready to go. Here comes Pedro with an 0-1. Fastball cut on and missed, nothing in 2.
This ball has some nice riding action up and in, tying him up.
Sets target up again. Goes with the fastball that whistles by his chin for ball 1.
This one will trim your beard.
Modern day Sal Magley. The barber.
There was a barber in the house down by the Dodger locker room today.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. In the tunnel down towards the batting cages. He was in there getting ready. You guys probably got tightened up.
2-2. Did you get one? You get a cut?
No.
No. Color?
No. Not. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow. Let's get this playoff berth locked up. Then we're going to have to make sure our hair's ready.
Ready to grow. Playoff beard time, hopefully. Crawford at first, nobody out. Baez to Garcia with a 2-2. Base hit to left. And after Ryu departs, the Giants immediately get back-to-back base runners against the bullpen.
A lot of high-quality pitches, but this pitch is a mistake. I want it up. It's down. It's slightly in. It's 95. It's got a little tail. But you just can only make so many mistakes. And when a guy has been hot, usually they don't let you get away with only one.
Alex Wood continues to warm as Gregor Blanco strides up there. Having a great year against the Dodgers. 8 for 14 for the light hitting outfielder.
Is Bochy going to bunt? Or is he going to play it straight up and just swing away?
Dorcas Hernandez waits on deck. Bottom part of the order here. Here comes Baez. He was not bunting. He takes a strike. "34 years old, 10th major league season. Second stint with the Giants. Part of a couple of world championship teams. He came back on a minor league deal this year. Pedro, a hard time seeing. Maybe getting some sweat in his eyes there, wiping him out.
Check that defense out. That's a shift in the outfield almost. Wow. Slightly moving over, but not really.
0-2. It's an example of matching your defensive alignment with your pitcher's stuff.
Yeah, the high velocity 95, 98 miles an hour. They are getting that specific with the data. The more and more reps guys have, the more and more confidence you have in playing a radical defense like that.
The thought being that they're trusting Blanco won't be able to catch up with that velocity, won't be able to pull it to right center where they're vacating it with the defense they have.
So don't throw him a changeup.
Right. Crawford walked against Alexander. Garcia singled against Baez. He comes home with an 0-2. Did throw him a changeup, but off of the plate and ball one.
Good defense and good defensive positioning is easier when the pitcher hits his spots.
The 1-2. Got him. Back to the changeup. 1 out.
First one was 87 and wide. This is 86 and on the plate with good movement. Let's see, he is out in front. It's not only the depth of the movement, but it was the change in velocity.
And now it's Gorkis Hernandez, who's twice flied to center. Similar philosophy here, just the other way. The right-handed hitter. Defense now shaded towards right, trusting Pedro's velocity. On the first pitch, Hernandez fouls it off. 96, strike one.
I like the fact right there that they were trying to go fastball up, but he didn't miss up. He missed down, but that in the first pitch of a count and with a chance to get a called strike also with the foul ball. Much more effective pitch long term, I think, compared to throwing that one up around the shoulders and getting ball one.
Strike two.
One up, missing down, but right on the corner. Good mistake.
Ryan Madsen joins Alex Wood. They put Alan Hansen in the on-deck circle.
Kind of like golf sometimes. You want to get the ball right next to the pin on your approach shot, but if you're going to missing the fat side of the green.
The 0-2. If they do announce Alan Hansen, Dave Roberts almost certainly is going to bring on Alex Wood. Hansen, a switch hitter, but way better against right-handed pitching. Set for the 1-2. Barely stays alive. They're throwing that changeup a bunch.
Good pitch. Foul tip. That does not feel good.
No, it doesn't.
Catch your breath.
3-1 game in the 7th. On a Justin Turner home run off Bumgarner in the 5th. Giants threatening against the Dodger bullpen. 2 on with 1 out. Baez ready for a 1-2. Or he will be. Well, he's ready to go. Here it comes.
Rick Honeycutt letting know Alex Wood that he's got the next hitter. Takes his hat off, meaning, are you ready? They take their hat off in the pen saying he is ready. And he then motions with his scorecard and his left arm like, you got the next hitter.
Another 1-2. Did he go? Yes. No foul tip. That didn't matter. It's another strikeout. Back-to-back Ks for Baez.
One foul tip hurt Yasmani Grandal. The next one feels pretty good in the glove.
Dave Roberts with Alan Hansen introduced. We'll go to Alex Wood. Flip him around, make him bat right-handed, where his OPS is more than 300 points worse. Back in a moment. Men at first and second with 2 out. Dave Roberts going to Alex Wood. And he was doing that to make sure Alan Hansen couldn't bat left-handed. Instead of a right-handed Alan Hansen, Bruce Bochy pulls him back and sends Chase Darno up there.
You pretty much know this time of year you come in as a left-handed specialist right now, as Alex Wood is. You're probably going to end up with a right-handed hitter just with the depth of all the rosters. Dave Roberts knew that also.
Two on, 2 out. Alex Wood to Chase Darno. Strike 1. Zach Roscup joining Ryan Madsen. Right-handed batting Hunter Pence is on deck. Stop by Grandal.
That is a huge stop. Both runners into scoring position. One already in there, but that's to keep the tying run off a second.
Giants have had some chances tonight. 5 hits, 3 walks. They've hit into 3 double plays. 2 on, 2 out here. Darno falls behind 1 and 2. In this case, they had the first 2 on. Now Baez striking out back-to-back hitters, and Wood now a strike away from getting out of the inning.
Good changeups coming out of that Dodger bullpen. Maeda's got a good one. Wood's got a good one. Baez used it this inning. A good one. Ryan Madsen has got a good one. That's something you usually see out of a bullpen.
Yeah.
Have that many good ones.
Crowd getting a little bit antsy. Wants Wood to throw it. Being extra careful with the man at second. Here's a 1-2. This one's taken in the dirt for ball 2. A good stop by Grandal. Crawford at second. Garcia at first. Wood to the plate. He struck him out. The tag team their way into and out of trouble in the 7th. For a preview of Access Sportsnet Dodgers.
All right, thanks, Joe. Another great outing by Hyun-Jin Ryu in a big spot. And speaking of Big J here, the Red Dream.
He's red, he's dreamy. You know what? He's my Red Dream. Big hit.
All right, bullpen needs to get 6 more outs. We'll see you guys right after the game.
I don't know if he's allowed to claim him like that. Sam Dyson comes on.
Jerry does a lot of things that he's not supposed to do.
I think he's Dodger fans' red dream.
There we go.
Yeah.
Should have texted that to him before the bump.
Jerry can share. Turner's 2-run home run, the difference in this game. And Dodgers trying to get some insurance now. Jock Peterson to lead this inning off against Sam Dyson. Peterson, Machado, and Bellinger coming up. Strike one. Jock had a really hot stretch to the middle part of this month, but he's 0 for his last 12 right now. After tonight, 2 games remain. If the Dodgers can hang on here, their magic number for a postseason berth would be down to 1. That's over the Cardinals. So any Dodger win, again, if they're able to hang on here, any Dodger win or any Cardinal loss over the final 2 days would guarantee at least the wild card game. One and two. As far as the division goes, they're going to need some help from Washington.
If that help comes and the Dodgers can win out and maybe Washington take 1 game, then we got a 163rd game against the Rockies at Dodger Stadium.
Yep. Only way the Dodgers win the division outright without a game 163 is to get the correct outcome of every game remaining. As Peterson strikes out to open the inning, that would mean 3 Dodger wins this weekend, and it would mean 2 Rockies losses over the final 2 days, which is not out of the question when you look at what Washington's lining up pitching wise. Strasburg tomorrow, probably Scherzer Sunday. Here's Machado with 1 gone.
I wonder if Scherzer's a scratch if Rockies win, Dodgers lose tomorrow. All of a sudden the game's not as consequential. But if it is a consequential game, one way or the other, I think the integrity of baseball, you would want Scherzer out there pitching. And I think the Nationals would want that if the Dodgers had a shot to do something for them in the future or in the past. If the playoff picture is settled, maybe Scherzer short outing or maybe a scratch.
Dyson's 0-1. Paints the corner with 96, strike 2. You mentioned the 4 home runs the Rockies hit tonight. One of those came from David Dahl. It's Dahl's 5th consecutive game with a home run.
They also had back-to-backs today. Desmond and Chris Iannetta.
Got some unruly fans behind home right now. Dyson delivers 1-2, and Machado fouls it off. And kind of awkwardly stumbles in his follow-through.
Ooh. That was very awkward. Looks like he's going to be okay. Gets back in the box.
Another 1-2. Grounded to short for Crawford. 2 gone. That's 10 in a row retired by Giants pitching. Back to the 3 consecutive hits against Bumgarner in the 5th that included Justin Turner's homer. Cody Bellinger trying to snap that streak with his first at bat tonight. Coming off back-to-back 2-hit games in Arizona. Ball 1.
Be interesting to see how the ballpark plays tomorrow. I know this game is still in the balance, but I'm just thinking day games coming up.
Right.
This ballpark really changed the outcome of this game tonight. Could have definitely been much higher scoring for both sides.
2-0. 1 o'clock tomorrow. Kershaw and Derek Rodriguez. Great pitching matchup. And then 12 o'clock on Sunday. Every game in baseball on the final day starts at the same exact time. It's going to be fun in this case. The ultimate scoreboard watching on that final afternoon. Walker Buehler scheduled for the Dodgers right now. Andrew Suarez for San Francisco. As Bellinger fouls it. It's 2-1. On a 2-1 pitch, Cody Bellinger watches it finish at the top of the zone for strike 2. Back in the ballpark where he made his major league debut last year. The guy that went on to hit 39 home runs, National League rookie record. Wouldn't you know, got his first major league hit, a swinging bunt on the left side of the infield. The 2-2. Poked through the left side, base hit. Had a similar trajectory to it, that first hit of his major league career. This one more skillfully done to keep the 8th inning going.
We have seen this swing develop, and it is getting prettier and prettier. 2 strikes, 2 out, nobody on. He's got the speed to steal a base, so not giving in to his power as much as he's setting it up, even with 2 outs.
They're going to tailor the opportunity here. Pretty good success rate, stolen base attempts against Dyson. It's actually given up 13 steals this year. There he goes. And he'll steal it without a throw.
Come in the 5th as a defensive replacement, play some defense for a while, get loose out there, get a hit with 2 strikes and 2 outs, have a little adrenaline, get over there and get a little froggy and get a good jump and steal a bag. Could be an insurance run. After all that.
Kenta Maeda loosening. A 3-1 lead, looking for a little more comfort. Dyson to Taylor with his 0-1 pitch. That misses, ball one. How many times do you get an insurance run and then the next inning say something like, well, the insurance run proven to be important? One and one. Taylor swings through it, strike two. Tonight they're 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position. They needed the long ball again. Turner's 2-run home run, the difference. The 1-2. Overthrown. The count evens 2-2. Let's go Dodgers chant loud and clear. Home fans doing their best to drown it out with their own words. 2-2 pitch.
As we've watched Chris Taylor rebuild his swing and then rebuild his confidence, he's hit a lot of balls to right center. The way he's being pitched in this at bat, I think he was trying to get the barrel on it, get it over second base, up the middle or to the right side.
Bellinger at second, 2 gone, and another 2-2 pitch from Dyson to Chris Taylor, who swings to a fastball, and the inning is over. Let's go to the bottom of the 8th. Dodgers 3, Giants 1. a few of them. 3 double plays turned by the Dodger defense tonight.
Slater hit into one, Tomlinson hit into one, Machado and Dozier in the middle of both of them. Ryu initiating them with some good pitches.
And that's Kenta Maeda, who the last time he pitched gave up the walk-off home run to Eduardo Escobar. And there was some questions following that game of Dave Roberts if Dave thought that Maeda, having hit Christian Walker in the face the game before, had bothered him psychologically. Dave Roberts was quick to say no, that may be an easy conclusion to try and draw, but he was confident that that was more of a coincidence than anything real bothering Kenta. His first pitch to Hunter Pence misses low. Popped up. Grandal has room for the first out. A legitimate question of Dave Roberts. He was very confident in his answer. As a former pitcher yourself, how about the mindset coming back after hitting a guy in the face as Maeda did?
Yeah, I never hit anybody in the face. I have hit plenty of guys in the helmet, but nothing that ever caused any damage. And plenty meaning probably 10 over the course of my career.
Joe Panic, ball 1.
But when you cause damage and you know somebody's hurt, psychologically in the moment, I would think it's more about how did he respond in the next batter, but not as much as anything that would be lingering from day to day. You deal with so many things mentally to get to this level that you've exercised that muscle of blocking stuff out an awful lot.
Kenta was visibly upset by it, almost to the point of tears.
Yeah, it shakes you, sure.
Falls behind Panic, 2-1. And a bit of a cushion to work with here with the Dodgers in front 3-1, last of the 8th. Chopper beats the defense. Opposite field, 1-out hit for Panic. And that gets the tying run to the plate in the form of Evan Longoria.
So Panic, the Dodger killer this year. This isn't a home run, but it does set the table to bring the tying run to the plate. Just kind of placed it over there like a bouncing little lob.
Longoria has a home run against Maeda in their previous meetings. He's got 16 of them this year. 1 on, 1 out, 8th inning. Here it comes. Perfectly placed, strike 1.
Dodgers could use another one of those double plays that we highlighted earlier.
One pitch.
Seeing those shots of Machado and Dozier, and with Turner at third, and the start of the game with Freese at first. That infield wasn't on the field to start the year.
75% of it wasn't in the organization. Wasn't even in the organization at the All-Star break. Two on one. With the way injuries have ravaged this Giants lineup and the trades of Jackson and McCutchen, there aren't too many names, not too many resumes that scare you in a situation like this. But even with the down year that Evan Longoria is having, the track record makes you hold your breath in a 3-1 game with him representing the tying run. Maeda ready to fire him a 2-1 pitch. It's fouled back, and it's 2-2.
Away.
Kenley Jansen down to the bullpen.
Rican Longoria beats you to center field, where fly balls come to die.
Stays at 2-2.
They weren't really looking for that pitch to be in or away. They were just wanting it to be down. That was the changeup.
Panic at first, one gone. Another 2-2 to Evan Longoria. A chopper to short. Got it out of his glove. How about another double play? The fourth tonight for the Dodgers. Eric Machado had a bit of a hard time digging it out of there, but still was able to find it, make the transfer, and Dozier gunned it to first to finish the inning. Game, which would be 1 o'clock. Clayton Kershaw for the Dodgers, and Derek Rodriguez, a rookie that's been fantastic for San Francisco. His first appearance, though, against the Dodgers.
Clayton, when he has been out there and healthy, has been outstanding. Little different pitcher nowadays, using the outer half of the plate to righties. Great breaking balls, both sides of the plate, and an unbelievable competitor. With his back against the wall, even with slightly depleted stuff, he never gives up and he gets out of the jams.
And in the biggest games, you will take your chances with 22. You like your chances with 22 on the mound. Hunter Strickland is on. Well, there are 4 teams at this point, if you don't include the Cardinals, in these very tight division races. The Cubs and the Brewers in the Central, Rockies and the Dodgers in the West. So far, the 3 teams that have played their games to completion have won. Dodgers trying to join them and make it 4 for 4 out of those teams neck and neck. Ball 1 from Strickland to Yasmani Grandal. Cubs over the Cardinals earlier today. Brewers winning late against the Tigers. And the Rockies getting their 8th consecutive win. taking the opener from the Nationals. (2-0). John Gray tomorrow for Colorado. He's a whole lot better his last time out. The whole thing with Gray has been, can he pitch in the big starts? And the answer more often than not in the recent, really the last year, you go back to the wild card game, the answer has been no. Grandal with a hot shot, base hit to right. Pence hustling to get it in the corner. Grandal set it for second. He's got a leadoff double.
You know, Osmani killed this ball not only hard enough to get it through the shift, but hard enough to get it out there in the right center, right field corner. And far enough away from Hunter Pence where he smells double right here. And you got a catcher running, but he's pushing the envelope. Nice slide, grab the bag, and call time.
6 for 12 on this road trip. The pinch hitter here is Max Muncy. Max will be in the lineup tomorrow with the right-handed pitching Rodriguez. As good of a case, at least statistically, as anybody to be in there every day. He's been really good against lefties as well. It's chopped foul and it's 1-1. Of course, if you were doing that, though, there's the other side of it, and that is you got to remove somebody else from the lineup that deserves to be in there just as much against lefties. Foul back 1-2.
He got one he can handle right there. Yes, he's trying to move Grandal over, but they don't use the terminology of get him over as much as the terminology is drive him over. And that was a pitch to drive him over.
It's a new thing this year for the Dodgers. I think Brant Brown brought that wording over.
It rings true with hitters because instead of feeling like you're giving yourself up.
Lined up the middle and into a double play.
Osmani wanders off, but even if he freezes on a line drive, I don't think he gets back in time either, because freezing on a line drive after a secondary lead, you're going to be too far off. See the secondary lead in the 1/2 a step. That's the only critical part. You could say you shouldn't have done that, but even if he wouldn't have taken the 1/2 step to third, he's too far off the bag with the secondary lead. And that was played right by Osmani. That was just tough luck.
Perfect storm. Boy, they sure love to hate Yasiel Puig. Strike one.
That would be an interesting poll in like the San Francisco Chronicle, where he would rank now. And he might, for this current generation, be ahead of Tommy Lasorda.
Weren't you in top 3 most hated?
Yep.
A poll not that long ago, like still.
Yeah, we need a new one.
He's not a bad guy, San Francisco. He even came and hung out with you for a year.
I like
a strike on Puig.
I like your golf courses. Some of the restaurants are in my top 1,000.
That's ball 2. It was around this time last year in one of the hitters meetings. Dodgers were going around the room sharing their greatest moments as a baseball player. And Justin Turner talked about some of the postseason moments in recent years. Chris Taylor talked about his walk-off single to get Virginia to the College World Series. And it was Puig's turn to share his best moment as a baseball player. He said, "Mine's still coming." Rolls this one past the mound to short. Crawford will scoop it up and throw him out and send us to the bottom of the 9th. Fasten those seatbelts. Kenley Jansen coming on, trying to lock down a 3-1 win.
Well, since coming off the disabled list, Kenley is 1-2, 5 out of 6 in save opportunities and converting them, but a 5.52 ERA. And the Achilles heel has been 5 home runs over his last 14 2/3 innings.
Max Muncy stays in the game to play first. Cody Bellinger stays in as well, grabs his center fielder's glove again, goes back to center. Kike Hernandez goes from center to second. Dave Roberts continues to maneuver his pieces. Dodgers 3, Giants 1 on a Justin Turner 5th inning home run. Here we go at the bottom of the 9th as Kenley Jansen delivers his first pitch to Nick Hundley. Strike 1. Hundley driving in the lone Giants run tonight with a solo home run against Ryu in the 2nd. Crawford and Garcia to follow. Dodgers trying to keep pace with the Rockies. 2 days left in the season. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Dave Roberts gets a lot of comfort when the first few pitches from Kenley have the correct action. First one was real good. The second one a little up. Probably wouldn't cut at that height.
Up again. Falls behind. 2-1.
I like Grandal's target, though. You wanting the ball down and away. That'll get you into a better slot for that cutter. And once you find that slot and get consistent with it, then you can start moving it around the strike zone.
Ball 3. 3 straight misses up.
That pattern led them to looking for mechanical flaws with Kenley, and pretty much he and Rick Honeycutt and a few others found it in his lower half, getting him to drive towards home plate a little longer before falling off to first base.
Back in there, 3-2. The payoff. Popped up. Muncy to give it a look, but out of room. We'll do it again.
That was a great look from behind home plate at how hard it is to hit a good cutter. This ball coming right at you, and watch when it finally breaks. See there, right at the very end? Your first read on it as a hitter is that that's going to be right there on the outside corner going straight, and then all of a sudden it just moves on you.
3-2 again. Fly ball, weakly hit to left. Jock Peterson for the first out of the 9. And it's Crawford. From the beginning, you knew the Dodgers would only go as far as Kenley Jansen would allow them to. Really rough first month of the year. And the Dodgers got off to a rough start. Really rough coming off of the DL in early August. And the Dodgers went through a rough patch then. They did strike 1 on Crawford. And here they are in the final weekend. They put together 8.5 innings of doing their job and executing to set the table for him. And now trying to finish it off. His 0-1 to Crawford. Is cut on and missed, strike 2.
'94 with some tail, and I don't think he was trying to throw a cutter there. He was just trying to throw it, reach back, and throw the fastball.
Hits him with an 0-2 pitch.
Gets around it a little bit. Think of a curveball, you're trying to get your hand and fingers to the front of the ball to spin it so it goes down. A cutter, you're just trying to stay behind it and be slightly off center. That one, he got around it and pulled it.
Between Crawford and this guy, Ramos Garcia, 5 and 6 in the Giants' order has reached all 7 times tonight. That's Will Smith headed down to the Giants bullpen just in case. Jansen with a glance at Crawford, and now comes home to the rookie. Strike 1. Garcia 4 home runs. Less than a month as a big leaguer. And an 0-1 pitch. He watches it break outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. The hat got away from somebody on the warning track. Puts the tension on pause for a moment. Now back at it. With a 1-1 offering. Strike 2.
91 is not overpowering, but with that late movement and as far down the hill as Kenley gets, the reaction time is shorter.
Jansen ready for the 1-2. Garcia able to stay alive. Tying run at the plate, 9th inning. Another 1-2 pitch. Way up there this time, and it's 2-2.
This is what the rest of the games for the rest of this year are going to feel like. After this is over, run out and get your antacids. You're going to need them for about a month.
Now the 2-2. Garcia continues to battle. Another 2-2. Bouncing ball left side. Turner to second, 1. And on the 5th double play of the night, the game ends. The Dodgers take the opener from the Giants 3-1 and keep pace with the Rockies. A game back with 2 left.
Kenley does something a little different, but it gets exactly what he wants. He threw a slider off speed, got the rollover double play. What a night for the defense.
Time now for the play of the game, brought to you by Lexus. Back to the 5th and a 1-1 game. Justin Turner with a 2-run home run against Madison Bumgarner that proves to be the difference. The Rockies win an 8th in a row, but the Dodgers get back on track with a win in the opener here in San Francisco. And it comes down to the final 2 days. Couple of day games here on the Bay. Oral Hershiser, Alana Rizzo, and the rest of our crew. Joe Davis saying